Hi, I'm Michael Hitchcock, and I'm alone with Jake Hogan, and I'm not supposed to be. The title is Don't Be Alone. Stupid me.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Hello, Kogan Nation. It's me, Jake Hogan, host of Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. That's what you're watching or listening to, and I'm so glad you're here and so thrilled that you have decided to join me. I'd be even more thrilled if you were a subscriber. Are you a subscriber? If you are, I love you, and if you're not, I question your taste. So subscribe to the show and like the show and share the show with other people. And if you have a question or a comment or a suggestion or a compliment, send it to me at dbawjk@gmail.com. That's Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan @gmail.com. You can also learn more about the show and me at the Substack, Jake Hogan Substack, which is fantastic. And you can also just do nothing and listen to the show. That's fine. I'm not going to know any different, but I would appreciate your interest. And I always love when I hear from people, and it always makes me feel good that we're just doing the show. And a lot of people are listening, and that's great. Anyway, today we have a lovely show for you. Someone who I've been a big fan of for many, many years. Someone who I've known tangentially many, many years, but never really gotten a chance to sit and talk with. A very funny actor, writer named Michael Hitchcock. You'll recognize him. He's been in a million shows. He's also been behind the scenes as a writer-producer of many, many shows. So he does what I do, at least what I dream to do. He is a much more active actor than I am. I'd say writing, we're probably on par, but you know, he's living my dream life, and I want to live his life without the magic tricks. He does magic tricks. I just think he's a really nice, interesting guy with a good head on his shoulders, and I want him to teach me why his reputation is sterling. Teach me why everybody I know who has ever worked with him loves it, including Christopher Guest, and making all those great Christopher Guest movies, Waiting for Guffman and Mighty Wind and For Your Consideration, those kind of things. He's been a part of everything. He's been on Curb Your Enthusiasm. People love him. People call him and they say, Michael, can you do the show? I want those calls. How do I get them? Interesting life, interesting story. You're going to hear more about it right after this.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
So Mike Hitchcock, welcome to Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. You're a hard get, man.
I really am. It was super hard to find. You had to go through 5 publicists.
I had to
and
get a lot
finally,
of people to thing. Like you had a lot of demands.
I sure did. I got my Diet. I didn't get a Diet Coke. I brought my own.
Unsweetened iced tea is what you said. Black coffee or unsweetened iced tea and a water. So it's fine. I hope you're comfortable. I hope we've fulfilled our end of the contractual bargain.
For the most part, I wouldn't mind a chair that isn't quite so because I'm afraid I might break it.
The risk of falling and dying in the chair is part of what keeps the show alive.
Oh, that's good.
That's what's exciting. So I've known you tangentially for decades.
Yeah.
But I don't really feel like we have known each other.
No, we kind of were doing separate paths at the same time. Right. With a lot of mutual friends.
Right. It's an incredible overlap. You're a go-to writer for many shows. You're a go-to actor all the time for many shows. I mean, I told my son I was seeing Michael Hitchcock was the guest today. He said, "Oh, from Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was the guy who didn't talk. He just started rattling off things
nice.
that you were in, and he was just very excited that I was coming to talk to you."
I wish you could call my family and tell them to maybe watch some of the stuff I'm in. That'd be nice.
So you have been doing writing and acting for, I don't know,
a while. Yeah.
A while.
1990.
Yeah. Okay, so about the same time as me.
Yeah.
I'm 87, same thing.
But see, I wasn't writing on Frasier,
right,
and all these fantastic shows.
No, you're writing on other fantastic shows. You've been writing on.
I did Mad TV for
Desperate
many
Housewives.
Years. No, I didn't write on it. No.
You did the Mad TV. You did
Glee. I did
Glee. That's right. I get Glee and Desperate Housewives confused.
Yeah, it's really almost the same thing.
Gay-centric gay-centric
Those ladies
shows.
loved to sing. Oh, they were such good singers.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, that was another. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very, very funny show.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but along the way, you've done a lot of different things, but you've also been acting along the way in amazing. I have to tell you about yourself. You know, you're part of the Christopher Guest world of those people, but you're like you're kind of a go-to guy, in terms of, you know, a guest character or a regular character.
Yeah, if you need the guy that's sort of obnoxious and then he gets his comeuppance and then leaves. That is my bread and butter a lot of times. And so when something where I'm not that guy comes along, it's like, what?
So you're the 2025 Mr. Drysdale.
Kind
is
of.
that right?
Yeah,
okay.
a little bit.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but
it's good comparison.
How'd you fall into this? You're from a place called Defiance, right?
Defiance, Ohio.
Right.
Which, home of Fort Defiance. There was a fort on top of a hill because the Maumee River and the Auglaize River met. So it was a good place to shoot at people.
Sure.
Yeah, because they'd be coming down the river and you could shoot at them.
Protected by water.
Yeah. So, but Defiance, Ohio was and is a big General Motors town.
Okay.
That's where my dad worked. He worked for General Motors.
All right.
That's where I grew up. Great place to be raised as a kid because, like, I fished, you know, we could go across the street and fish and, you know, all that kind of stuff and ride mini bikes and, you know, all that stuff that was fun as a kid.
For the Indians?
I didn't root for anybody. I was doing magic tricks.
Right, I understand.
And then sooner or later we moved to, when I was in 6th grade, we moved to Chicago. And he became an engineer for another place.
Oh, fantastic. So 6th grade is a pivotal time to move.
Horrible time to move.
Yeah.
It was truly horrible.
Wow.
Yeah, I was suburb of Chicago. I shouldn't say truly horrible. I know people there still
okay.
to this day.
You said your experience was truly horrible.
Yeah.
You didn't say the place was truly horrible.
The place is beautiful.
Right. What's the name of this
Western
horrible place?
Springs, Illinois.
Western Springs,
known as Tree Village.
Right.
A lot of trees.
Also known as hell.
Right. For a 6th grader who just moved there.
Right, exactly.
Halfway through the year. So
Right.
it wasn't even at the beginning of the year. It was halfway through.
But Chicago is full of theater.
Yeah.
And was that something that you experienced?
Yes, absolutely. That was one of the best things about Western Springs and still is. They have a community theater there that is fantastic. And they had children's theater, and that's where I kind of found my tribe.
Right.
And then Chicago itself, like our parents would take us down to see Second City, Chicago. So I grew up watching Second City.
Right.
And then there's the Goodman and there's Steppenwolf and all that. So,
Yeah.
And we'd go to some of that, but mostly, you know.
That's classy. You
Yeah,
had a
it was
classy
fun.
family.
Yeah. But my
Right.
dad also drove us around and, you know, literally when we first arrived, he would drive us down to Chicago because, you know, we're from Ohio. And he'd go like, we're going to go look at the bums. And we literally would drive to Skid Row and look at these poor homeless people. And the first time's kind of fascinating.
Right.
But then when people came out to visit,
Right.
we would load up in the car and go look at the bums. And that was like, for him, a lot
Was
of
it
fun, I guess. I don't know what
Entertainment, or was it a warning?
It was
Like,
probably a warning,
Yeah.
like this is what could happen.
Right.
But then we'd also drive by the Chicago Merchandise Mart,
Right.
and he'd always go, that was owned by the Kennedys. You know, Joe Kennedy was a bootlegger.
Right.
And, you know, he made his money bootlegging. And so we
Right.
learned a lot about bootlegging and the Kennedys.
Your
also.
dad sounds a little angry.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Okay, but so somebody, I guess it's mom or some sibling, somebody there is encouraging you to be, you know, interested in acting and art. And
Yeah,
something.
I always kind of did that. And weirdly, even in Defiance, Ohio, I kind of got my start there, weirdly. We went to the First Presbyterian Church of Defiance, Ohio. And this lady named Mrs. Simmons, you know, took care of the kids. And the boys, which I don't to this day understand, the boys every year, not the girls, just the boys, put on a marionette show.
Okay.
So it was sort of like Shakespeare. The boys played the, you know, but it was
What
marionettes.
were the girls doing?
They were, I don't know what they were doing, but they had nothing to do with the marionettes. It was just the guys.
Well, you know, if you let girls touch puppets, bad things happen.
Bad things happen.
Yeah.
So, they, you know, who knows? They were out shooting guns and playing baseball.
Right,
We
sure.
were playing with
Right.
marionettes. And I'm sure it had something to do with the Bible. I don't remember that part. I just remember it was fun to, like, you know, there was a stage and, you know, you got to do this thing and people came and watched. And that's sort of where I think think my love of performing started behind a marionette stage in Defiance, Ohio.
I bet. You got to play multiple characters if you were doing marionettes.
Well, I did.
All right.
And then shows would come into town every once in a while at the Defiance College or wherever we go see those. And I remember seeing a professional magician who that also impressed me. So I wanted to do magic, which I ended up doing.
Right.
And I also remember at the time, I was a kid. I was maybe 6, 7. But I remember he turned to the audience and yelled at us and said that if people didn't stop interrupting him, he was stopping the show. And I don't remember who was doing it. I just thought like, no, I want to see this Marion. I want to see the magic show.
But isn't it kind of the magician's responsibility to keep your attention?
I think so. But it was probably a rowdy, audience full of kids. I don't know what happened.
He's got tricks.
He had good ones.
If he doesn't have their attention, something's wrong.
No, he did. He had like the sword box where the put the lady in there and put swords and they floated the lady. So
how magical were you as a teenager?
I was magical in the sense that I got paid by like Cub Scouts and old folks' homes to put on a show, and I'd literally
birthday
get like
parties?
Yeah, birthday parties.
Yeah.
I'd get like $15 maybe, and then I would buy a new magic trick. Because down in Chicago at Marshall Fields, which was this big department store that sooner or later became Macy's, but they had a magic department in the store, and you could buy little tricks, so whatever, like the dice box and the floating ball and all that stuff. And so whatever money I made, I put back into the act. And I had no time to learn like sleight of hand. I was buying my magic.
So magic, puppets, poker.
Poker was not part of it, but community theater was.
Yeah.
And our community theater did like, children's shows. So you would do, Wind in the Willows or The Wizard of Oz or whatever. So and then sometimes I got used for the adult shows, which was kind of cool. And then every once in a while we would do the regular high school shows if we deemed them important enough.
And what were you in the regular high school show?
Well, I was Jesus and Godspell.
Okay, sure.
Don't kid yourself. And then we also like put on our own like show where we wrote it and all that, and then, and all the money went to pay for the whatever it was, the high school place where we all hung out on the weekends, called the Corral.
Okay, the
and
Corral,
so it was called the Corral Show, and so I directed and wrote that for a couple of years in high school. So and then you'd have to like.
Did it also have Day by Day in it or other?
No, it was more of a comedy thing. But I didn't star myself. I would have if I could have.
Sure.
No, but that was one where you tried to get as many people into it as possible so that you'd sell as many tickets as possible.
You want their parents and relatives to come. Yeah.
So you'd have to corral like the jocks and the cheerleaders and all of that, plus the good actors. Try to get them all together and put on something.
Sounds a little like Glee.
A little
interesting.
Like Glee. Yeah, I was excited. That's maybe where Glee got the idea. Who knows?
All right.
Yeah.
Some people get to the Groundlings when they think, I'm going to start a career maybe in acting, and they show up at the Groundlings.
Right.
You had decades of pre-theater training.
I was working at actually a place called Embassy Home Entertainment, which at the time was owned by Norman Lear. Yeah. So it was part of the Norman Lear,
What
Embassy
were you doing for them?
At the beginning, I wrote stuff on the back of VHS boxes. So whatever the movie was about, I would write what it was.
Yeah, all right.
And I remember showing my boss, like, do you think this is good? And she goes, it doesn't matter. Nobody reads that. And I'm like, oh no, all this college and I'm doing this and clearly this, nobody cares.
Somebody reads it.
Yeah, well.
But most people don't.
I tried to make it sound good.
You sure?
Yeah. So anyway, I was doing that and a friend of mine said, you kind of want to be a writer, take classes at the Groundlings because improvisation is, will help you with your writing.
Right.
And so that's why I went there. And it was true. Like improv is great for writing because it's writing, on the spot.
Right.
Yeah.
The greatest lesson I ever got from improv was it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
Just do it and see what happens.
And plus it's a team sport.
Yeah.
And so in a writer's room, there's, it's a room full of writers.
Right.
And so you can't just hold on to your idea. Someone's pitching something and you can, add on to it. It's great for all of that.
Okay. Well, this leads me perfectly into my question. Every show I do, I invite someone on to help me with my problem.
Okay.
My problem, you seem excited about it.
No, you have so many problems.
That's
Which
right.
one is it going to be?
I'm going to define this one. It's not. We don't have time for all of them.
I know we don't.
It's one specific issue, which is you're living my dream career in many ways. And
That's very weird because you were living
Okay.
my dream career and
Right.
still are in
Okay.
many ways. So,
but you're perceived, and I think because you are, as a team player, as somebody who's on board to do what it is to do. And probably people who you don't even have people who've never worked with you before say, we got to get this guy. He's got a great reputation. He's going to come act in our ensemble and be fantastic. He's going to write in our writing room and be fantastic. He's going to give you what you want and maybe even a little bit more. And you don't know.
and we can always cut that part out.
And you don't know what it's going to be, but along the way, he'll be delightful. He's not going to be angry. He's not going to be furious. He's going to be a team player who's going to try and make it better and work with you.
Okay.
That's the reputation
good.
I have for you.
Oh,
that's
all
what
right.
that's what I've heard for you. That's the reputation.
And yet you've never hired me on any of your projects.
Well, I'm jealous.
Huh, interesting.
I'm jealous.
So like fuck him. Is that what you were thinking?
A lot of the time you're not available, by the way.
All right.
I've hired many other
Okay.
Groundlings, but I've
Fair.
tried to get
never,
you.
not once.
He's working on this, is what I get. When I try to call you, he's working. He's busy on Glee.
Okay.
He's busy on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
All right.
He's busy on. If you weren't working so much, maybe.
Well, I'm not working right now.
Me neither.
Okay. Well, that's why we're here.
Right. Exactly.
All right.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
The thing about it is, you must be, obviously part of what we do is be creative, funny, we give that. But another part of it is to be a team player and be perceived as a team player and be on board for the fun of it, for the good.
Yeah.
And I think, like, Christopher Guest has his ensemble players, of course. I don't know. He made a bunch of movies, but he also made a bunch of commercials and stuff like that. I don't know if you were on board for.
I've done a couple of his commercials, but
Right.
I got hired by him because of the Groundlings. I
Right.
was doing a Thursday night improv show. I didn't know he was in the audience. I think my agent had told him about me or something, but he secretly came to see the show.
Right.
And they were doing Waiting for Guffman, and he came to see it. I found out later he'd been there, and the way he works is he doesn't really audition actors. You go meet him,
Right.
and he's notoriously quiet.
Yeah.
So he's
a weirdo.
I went to meet him. Well, his humor is very, very dry.
Right.
And so you don't know quite how to make of him when you first meet him. And I think what helped me on that particular project was because of my community theater background, and the Waiting for Guffman
Right.
is about community theater.
Right.
I started talking about the many types of people that
Right.
I knew back in the day. And,
Right.
and I think that helped me secure a spot in that film.
Right.
So that's how that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says, that a lot of it is just go. Here's the
Oh,
situation.
yeah.
Here's the situation.
Go.
Go.
Right. That happens because, in those movies, because they're faux documentaries, he doesn't like the term mockumentary.
Right.
There's interviews in them. And I remember for Waiting for Guffman, I thought, oh, my character's about to be interviewed. He's going to be behind the camera. He's going to ask me questions. None of that happened. It was sort of like, okay, and just start talking about the play.
Right.
And I thought like, oh no, and then I remembered an exercise that Cynthia Spaghetti taught called rumination, where you take a subject and you ruminate on it and you just keep going. The whole thing is just keep going and go through the wall.
Right.
And I thought, okay, well, this is rumination. I've done it in
Right.
class. We can do it here.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Guffman was a magical movie to watch. Coming from an improv background, but I think just to watch it has the verisimilitude of community theater, but it's definitely a comedy. It's people putting on interesting characters. It's almost Groundlings-esque, but a little bit, it's like 3 steps less broad necessarily than the Groundlings, but still that same vibe.
Well, the big thing he tells you right from the get-go is never go for jokes.
Right.
The comedy's going to come from your character.
Yeah.
And it's a real thing. Unless you're like a Fred Willard type where that is part of your personality. And God bless Fred Willard. In heaven, I can't wait to see him again if I'm lucky enough to see him again. Chris is that way. So you go in knowing that you better, you're delivering the character itself.
Right.
And ahead of time on that one, I was originally cast as someone auditioning for the play. I wasn't cast as my character. Bob Odenkirk was. And then at some point, Bob couldn't do the schedule, and so they switched us.
Oh, wow.
And so I was switched into being a town councilman. And he goes like, well, what do you want to do for that? And I said, well, I want to talk about how I really wanted to be in the play, because I did.
Right.
And that I'm secretly in love with you. And so, and he kind of grinned and went, okay, we can try that.
Right.
And so then I think the writer brain in me went, if I talk a lot about the other characters, I have a better chance of staying in this movie.
Right.
And so I'm a little bit of a gossip, which helped,
Right.
I think, further their plot.
Right.
And help keep me in the movie.
How much of the plot, as much as there is a plot, was known other than they're going to try and put on a play and wait for the producer to come who never comes?
Well, he does an outline. We have an outline ahead of time. It's roughly, 30 pages or so. That's mostly breakdown of what the characters, and then maybe just a sentence or two of what the scenes are about.
Right.
Never any suggested dialogue, unless it's like the play itself was written.
Right.
So that part was written, and the songs are written, obviously. So, yeah, you kind of know what the bing, bing, bing is. But like I said, the interviews talk about whatever you want. Or when you're in the scene, like we know that he's going to ask us for money, extra money for the play, and we're going to turn him down. That's all there is. And then you do the scene. And even like when you're blocking with the cameras, if there's movement involved, you never, ever do dialogue during those things. It's just like, they might move here, they might move there, be ready for that. And then when the cameras roll, that's the first time anyone actually talks.
Right. Was it analogous to doing a Groundling scene, or was it completely different?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
And because there's several people in the scene, so you have to give and take, do all of that stuff. I can remember a couple times my little judgment and be like, oh, they just said something really weird, but you have to go with it.
Right.
And, and so that's how it goes. And he also does extremely long takes. And then, maybe the second time around, he goes, okay, we don't really need that again, but I really like this part of it, so maybe let's try it again.
So were you obligated to remember what you said exactly?
Not exactly, but he might go like, I like this part, maybe try it again that way.
Right.
And then so you kind of do you do wide shots, and then you kind of come in for the.
Here's the thing. Now, you obviously did that one movie, but then people liked working with you, and they're working with you again and working with you again. And working with you again. I spoke to Rachel Bloom not long ago. She's Rachel. A lovely woman. She loved working with you too.
Rachel's like, come on.
She's fantastic.
She's like a little puppy, just so excitable with the brain of Einstein. I mean, she is so smart.
Right.
And when we were doing Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, she's obviously those songs are hilarious, but she knew it was about so much more than just what you think it's going to be about. It really delves into mental health. And
every song usually had a point to it that was both sociological and moved the story forward.
Yes.
Like an impossible task.
Impossible.
Yeah.
And then between her and Aline Brosh McKenna, who wrote The Devil Wears Prada, they were an amazing team together and put on the show that, the fans loved it. And, and it was on the CW, which at that time was like superheroes and models.
Right.
And I think they didn't quite understand it at the beginning, but then embraced it.
I didn't understand it at the beginning. I didn't know what it was. I saw posters and it's Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Oh, this was probably on the CW. This is probably not a show for me.
Yeah.
And then
it was.
It absolutely was. It was a must-see show.
It was great. And the way she said that they pitched it, which I still think is brilliant. When they went in to pitch the show, they said the first season is about denial, which is like, I'm just moving to this town to get this job. It has nothing to do with a boy I met in back in summer camp that I'm still secretly in love with. That has nothing to do with that.
Right.
And then so that was the first season was denial. The second season was acceptance, which was I am in love with the guy. That is why I'm here. I'm going to get him. Third season was revenge, which was screw him. It's not working out. He's going to get his. And the fourth season was healing. And we, for the most part, stuck with that plan for the 4 seasons. So that's a brilliant way to pitch.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And they went in going, we see this as a 4-season show. And that's what it became. And then she won the Golden Globe.
That's a mistake. Don't pitch the final season. You never pitch the final season.
But they pitched, well, I'm not telling anyone how to pitch, but I just thought like to do it like with themes where you don't have to get too far into the weeds. Right. So that's really smart.
Yeah. When you're a writer, like on a show, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and you're also occasionally a performer on that show, is it hard to cross the line, go back and forth?
No, if it's the same show, it's easy because, you go literally, several yards away, you do your thing, and then when you're done, you go back to the room. If it's a different show, then it's a problem, and that's why.
That's why you weren't available to do my shows.
Well, sometimes like you have to pick your battles,
right?
And you can usually only do a part that lasts a day or two because, again, if you have a job, they don't exactly like it that you're not at the job.
No, I know, but I mean, it's like if you're hiring you might know this comes with the territory. Every now and then, he's going to have to take a day or two.
That's true, but you can only play those cards every once in a while. Like it would be like, hey, if a Christopher Guest thing comes up, I'm going to do it. Right. And we have to talk about that now.
Right.
But if it's anything else, they're like, no, you can't. And I don't blame them. If you're hired to write, you should be there to write. There's only so many people, and then you're putting all the work on other people.
Yeah.
So it depends. I had one job, actually. It was a job on this show called Grosse Pointe. It only lasted a year. It was this 90210 takeoff. It was on the WB. It was very funny.
Okay.
It was Darren Stark created it.
Okay.
And it was basically behind the scenes of a 90210 show. And it got incredible acclaim. And then the WB fans didn't know what to make of it.
Right.
So it lasted one season.
You're making fun of the thing that we like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but it lasted one season. It was very funny. But I recurred on that. But I was working on Mad TV at the time, and they did not like it that I was leaving to go do the show, and they basically said I could do it as long as I'm at the writer's room by 10 a.m. and I'd have to go to the show, go to the Grosse Pointe show, and say, if you can film me and I can be back in the office, which was across town, by 10, you can have me. And so they would film me like at 6:30 in the morning. And then at some point they just went like, this is not going to happen. And we're done. So I got written out.
Well, Jim Wise used to talk about like going to the dentist a lot.
Did he? Is that what he did?
Yes. He went to the dentist a lot for auditions or other things that he was doing.
I remember during that one time, there was a show that they wanted me to go audition for. And I went, no, it's one of those British shows that come to America and they don't work because coupling had just come, and I'm going to skip it because it's so hard to get out of work. It was The Office,
of course,
and I never auditioned for it,
Yeah.
and not that I would have made it, but it's like I turned down that audition because of
You might have been a good Jim or Pam. You could have.
Well, who knows what I could have been.
You never know.
But that's the type of thing you have to like pick your battles, and I picked wrongly on that. I should have gone to the dentist that day.
You don't know. It's all right.
It's how it goes.
I did this thing. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the show. There was the Osbournes.
Oh yeah.
Wanted to do a show, a show with no script about their family, and just a real show about with no script. And they interviewed me to say, you want to come produce this show? And I went like, I don't get it. Like, what do you mean a show without a script? What would we be filming?
Yeah, like a reality?
Like, us. And like, okay, but I mean, how interesting are you? Like, people on their daily lives. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne's a rock star. I get it. How interesting are you? And they said, and Sharon was saying, we're very interesting. And we do. And he does crazy things. And they would talk about like one time, Ozzy. I made a plate of brownies, and Ozzy ate the whole plate. And I thought, that doesn't sound that interesting. Couldn't have been more wrong. Yeah. Like, this was like the most, reality,
been great,
fantastic thing. I don't know, but then again, I also could not understand a word that Ozzy Osbourne said. Well, he said, like, I would ask him a question. So, Ozzy, you like this idea? Yeah. So I thought, this is not for me.
Not for you.
It sounded insane.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it was good.
Well, listen, I did a Jessica Simpson movie, her last one, partly because I thought, wouldn't it be fun to be around that and her father and see that world?
Right.
And it didn't disappoint.
Okay.
I mean, that part of it was great. The movie was called Private Valentine, and it was about as good as a Private Benjamin ripoff can be. And
my family screens it every few months.
do they? Oh, good. Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of those where you're like, and nothing against her. She was a lovely person.
Right.
But I kind of went just to see that dynamic, the
So,
dad-daughter
that's very
dynamic.
strange that like this fireworks. You wanted to see this sort of them either them fighting or him dominating her. Like, what was going on there?
It was just what you'd kind of heard about that relationship, and that he'd be bragging about her daughter and was always around, and a lot of that stuff was happening, and whatever reason I wasn't working, and I thought, well, why not? Let's do it. And
so did you do your tell-all book about the?
No,
Jessica
I never
Simpson?
did. But the funny thing about that thing is it was shot in Shreveport, which is fine, it's neither here nor there, but at some point I had to go in to do dialogue replacement, ADR, where, whatever, a plane goes by.
I know what ADR is.
But the audience might not. So that's where if like a plane goes by and the sound gets ruined, you go in and you redo the line and you have to match your lips. So I went in and they, it was the first line out of my mouth.
Sure.
So we did it. Great. Okay, now here's the second one. And then I, after a while, I went like, wait a minute, are we doing all of them? And yes, that the sound guy had mixed up something. Every line had to be replaced.
That can't be helpful to the movie.
No. So
that everyone's dialogue was just
crazy?
like a microsecond off.
And we weren't outdoors. We were inside of a home.
Right.
So it was, technically it should have been fine.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you and to Jessica and Jessica's father.
Me too.
It's not
It
right.
wasn't great. But anyway, you take those jobs every once in a while.
You do. What was your first professional TV writing gig?
Where I got this is The New Lassie.
Okay.
I got my WGA card doing The New Lassie with my friend Steve Stark, who is a very big producer these days. He does Handmaid's Tale and Wednesday. And, all tons and tons of stuff. Fargo. And so we co-wrote The New Lassie for Universal because he was working for Al Burton Productions at the time, who did it. And it kind of ruined my whole lure of Lassie, because the plot was basically they go to Mexico and they get stuck in the flash flood, which was the Universal flash flood. So we were shooting on the back lot. And to make Lassie be excited, they had two Lassies. One kind of was the main one, and then the other one, I guess, did the tricks. I don't know exactly which one did what. But the one that day, to get Lassie to kind of do that, they just had this little chihuahua that was its friend, and it would go like, Snapper's here, and Lassie go, and that's how they got Lassie to do the thing, because his little friend Snapper was on set.
Right. Well, I want to tell you something, Michael. It's a dog.
Yeah,
it's not an actor.
No, it's not.
It's a dog.
Oh, yeah, it was like, yes, I'd seen how the sausages were made, and you're just thinking like, all right, I guess, yeah.
How many episodes of Lassie did you write?
I did one.
One, okay.
Yeah, that got me in. That got me in the WGA.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's exciting. And then, how did you get to Mad TV?
Through the Groundlings.
Did you find it easy to churn out material, or was it tough? It
was pretty easy. I mean, I think the thing about Mad was we knew our place in the world of late night sketch comedy. We knew we were not SNL. We were never going to get those numbers. It was much more, I think, relaxed than, and it was not a live show. It was we had a studio audience that we would, do live on tape, and then
they'd hold up puppies so they would
hold
react.
up puppies. Yeah, pretty much. But then we also did, field pieces too.
Right.
But and then you could film something in September and it would show up in May.
Right.
So it could go all over the place as far as that went.
For sure.
But it was a lot of the Groundling writers or people were on that show, so it was some friends. It was a fairly easy show to feel at home with. So my niece, when she was she could have gotten to any show like Uncle Jay, would you get me tickets? All she wanted to see was Mad TV, because it was right in her wheelhouse. Exactly. I think the downfall, I mean, not the downfall, but the frustration with that show would be the audience would be young, like high school kids. They would come in.
That's how old she was when she wanted to see Mad TV. Yeah.
And so then if the word like weed was mentioned in a sketch that had nothing really to do with weed, they would just go, woo! And you'd be like, oh no, you're not supposed to laugh at the word weed. It's not what it's about.
Well, then you get to know your audience. And maybe you plant the word weed in when you want some action.
And so you'd have to sometimes re-laugh at sometimes because they
Sure.
laughed at the wrong place.
Yeah.
But great talent. I mean, like everybody from Key and Peele to, you know, like Barinholtz. And I mean, just the list goes on and
Yeah.
on.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
What was Glee like, and what's Ryan Murphy like?
I was a huge fan of Glee when it came on. I remember seeing the pilot and going, what is this? Why am I not any part of this? This, you know, I
Right.
love this whole, you know, like especially season 1, season 2, where they were, you know, these misfits who the world hated them, but they just
Right.
did their thing, and then they would put on a show for themselves,
Right.
with these elaborate sets. It was
Very heightened reality.
Yeah.
Very goofy.
very MGM. Let's put on a show in a barn,
yeah.
except for in New Times. My Ohio connection, like it takes place in Lima, Ohio, which literally I have cousins that live there from
Right.
my Defiance days. So I was like, it's Lima, Ohio. Like my cousins there. So I loved the whole heightened, all of it. And I'm kind of secretly a singer, even though I'm a horrible singer. So to be around people that are that good at what they do and was fantastic.
Me too, by the way. I fancy myself a very good singer. And my son, who's a professional singer,
Yeah.
reminds me
You're not.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not
I'm
good at
not.
all.
I don't fancy
Yeah.
myself a professional singer.
I do. I fancy myself as good. And when I try, I just get eye rolls.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not good.
So you could go over there during the day, like on a break, and watch them do these crazy numbers
Right.
and do them well. And, you know, and then they're having to do it 25, 26 times for all the takes. And, you know, it was just fascinating how all that went. I loved Ryan Murphy, to get to Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan is, he has a sense of humor that takes a while to understand, but once you understand it, I really liked him a lot.
Is it weird? Is it like, what is it?
It's biting but not cruel.
Okay.
I guess is a way to do it. And very funny guy.
Right. All right. So now this is time for listener mail.
Now it's time for listener mail.
Thank you, Sydney, for the question, listener mail question. I
Thank
really
you,
appreciate
Sydney.
it. Dear Jay and guest, what was the most challenging moments of your career and how did you overcome it? And part 2, what was the biggest failure and how did you get past that?
Wow. You
Two-part
first.
question. All right. So the most challenging moments in my career and how did I overcome it? I would think the biggest challenge was at the beginning to me. Like, how do you break in? How do you find your way through? And knowing that it's a giant wall and it's very hard to get over, and you just have to have the tenacity to say, I'm just going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until I get over the wall. So that was the commitment that I had learned doing stand-up comedy and doing some acting and doing the Groundlings, sort of braced me for whatever the journey was, however long it would take to do the thing, to get to writing or get to acting or break in somehow, is what I thought that was my challenge.
Yeah.
And I think I got through it just by head down, nose to the grindstone, just keep going
Right.
and looking for every opportunity. And I got lucky. Luck is a great part of it because I got some breaks.
Yeah.
So that was the big thing.
Yeah. The grind at the beginning is extremely hard. The good thing is most of us, when we're doing it, are younger.
Right.
And everyone's sort of kind of in the same boat. But yes, that grind at the beginning it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, well, why? What am I doing wrong? Or or why don't they like me? Or I said the wrong answer when I'm interviewing for the agent, or
Right.
you know, all of that kind of a thing. Yes, that's absolutely it. Probably my lowest when I had and this is, I mean, I hardly ever talk about this, but I wrote a movie that was an independent film. It was like non-WGA. So maybe that was my first thing I wrote, which
Right.
you're going, but it wasn't TV. It was a movie, and it was called Where the Day Takes You, and had a great cast. Everybody from Dermot Mulroney and Laurel Flynn Boyle and Kyle MacLachlan and Will Smith's first movie.
Right.
It was about street kids in LA. And it turned into a extremely frustrating, depressing experience because I got rewritten, and I found out about it by reading it in Variety but I was still showing the director around town and all the places, and he never told me, and then I rewrote the rewrite, and then he allegedly took credit for that, and I had to threaten legal stuff, and it was a mess.
Right.
And so, and everyone was sort of like, well, you got a movie made, and da-da-da-da-da, and well, that's good. What did you learn from it? And the thing I learned was I couldn't trust anybody.
Right.
And that was like, oh, you finally got somewhere. And then it, the mechanics of it and the egos really, really threw me for a loop.
Well, I mean, it's a hard lesson to learn early because I don't know, as you've had a very long and storied career, you probably haven't run into that many people that you can't trust.
No, and that was one of the first. And it was also that thing of like, it almost got me out of the business because it was so like, what is this? What it's like, And it was about street kids the whole thing was about like street kids, like how horrible their life is, and then
the hustle.
all this mechanics of people taking credit and this and that, and you didn't do this and he did this, and it was
I
not
find the
good.
world of show business that's under the radar and people are making it for nothing and maybe a little bit more dicey than guilds and laws and studios and contracts and all. Not that we can't get screwed over by big studios, people do all the time, but it just feels like there are more rules set in place for
that very reason. I know with that whole thing, like once you're in the guild and you go like, okay, well at least there's arbitration and ways to settle things like that. And I know sometimes that doesn't work out either, but at least it's your peers deciding for you, as opposed to a producer saying, no, just leave them off the credit, or whatever it was they were doing to allegedly punish me for, saying, hey, I wrote something that someone else is allegedly taking credit for.
It's my, if I'm not going to get paid money for it, I should get the credit.
So it did not turn into a great experience at the time over, but the good things come from everything, but and I made friends from that and what have you. So that was crappy. And then I've been fired a couple times off of sitcom when you're a guest star, and that's always humiliating. But every comic I know, every comedy guy I know, woman, we've all it's a badge of honor. We've all it's happened to everyone, and it's just the way it is.
What explains it? It's just bad chemistry, the wrong reading, bad week. What do you think?
It can be all sorts of things. I think the first time I did it, I was probably green and was just, nervous. I think that was probably part of it. But it's also when it was multicams, and on multicams, day one is you're reading for the writers, and it's the table read, and then day two maybe the studio comes in, day three is the network, and then you're blocking, and there's no time. And so like if you're not exactly where you're supposed to be on that day, you're gone. And that's just how it is. There's no time to fix it.
What's going on in life for you? Okay, so now you're
what's going on in life?
We are men of a certain age.
Yeah.
What does the future look like? What's going on?
Besides, what do you mean, like going to the restroom twice a night?
Are you still doing magic? Like what do you?
No,
how do you keep
I don't
yourself
do magic
busy?
anymore. Luckily this year I've worked a lot, so that's good. I've been doing the Lowdown, and luckily I'm on another show, Nobody Wants This, which is on Netflix.
My son mentioned that earlier this morning.
Yeah, and it's season 2, and so luckily that's kept a lot of my time going, and that's premiering October 23rd, and it's going to be fun.
Very fun.
New things coming.
Okay.
America's Way on that show.
Okay, I'm looking forward to
America's Sweethearts.
Will Jews and non-Jews ever get along? I just don't know.
We're going to find out.
I don't know.
We're going to find out.
Okay.
But Adam Brody, Kristen Bell, man, they are so funny. I love them, and everybody. And Justine Loop is hilarious. Everybody on that show is so much fun.
Is Bruce Kaplan still running that show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's great.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh my God, he's the nicest guy ever. God.
Also a very funny cartoonist.
Oh, yes. I wish he was like my uncle.
You could probably ask him.
Yeah. He's so nice. Yeah. He's the nicest guy.
Really nice and really funny.
Yeah.
And
I play on that show. I play Kristen Bell's dad, and he's loosely based on Erin Foster. Her father is David Foster, a very famous music producer who's also very famously a ladies' man. Right. Been married several times. And part of the show's based on, my character's sort of based on him, and that he wasn't around that much when she was growing up. But that's the only part that's the same. I play a gay podiatrist. Right. But you're not newly out of the closet.
All right. Well, now it's time for the moment of joy.
Oh.
A moment of joy.
So this is where I ask my guest, and in this case, you are the guest.
Oh, okay.
What it is that brings you joy.
I'm going to list two things, and
Okay.
they're both very oddish, and one is very basic.
Okay.
Should I do the basic one first?
Yeah.
The basic one is I really enjoy reading celebrity autobiographies.
Okay.
It brings me joy. I just got done with Charlie Sheen's book, which I highly recommend.
Did you see the documentary?
I saw the documentary.
Is the book and the documentary
Yeah, they're kind of
companion pieces?
Yes, they're companion pieces.
Okay.
It's they obviously go into more detail in the book, but yeah, the documentary, all that footage of like the home movies of him as a kid with like the Sheens and all that stuff.
Do you wind up liking
so cool.
Charlie Sheen
Yes,
after reading it?
you do.
All right.
You do end up liking it.
Okay.
But what I also do when I do those biographies, I will do obviously something like that, or Jeanette McCurdy, who did like I'm Glad My Mother's Dead, and those books, which are fantastic.
Right.
But then I'll do deep dives into people and read, like say Gary Marshall. You read Gary Marshall's book, and then you read Penny Marshall's book, and you read like did Sidney Williams write a book? I can't remember, but like all of them together makes up great. So you kind of, it's almost like Rashomon.
Right. No, I got it. I did read Elaine May's. There's a not autobiography, but biography about Elaine May, and then one about Mike Nichols.
Yeah.
And then one about Second City entirely, and what about Alan Arkin. So like I'm trying to get that group of actors all in one spot.
And then if you like, I highly recommend. Ron Howard and Clint Howard wrote a book together called The Boys, which is basically them growing up as child actors.
Right.
And so you're also hearing all of that too. Like and they get a little
it's
bit.
like that they're both now incredibly successful.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no.
Well,
only Ron.
But
only Ron.
Clint does okay.
Clint's fine.
You will see. Like Clint does fine.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was massive as a kid. Like
Gentle Ben.
Yeah, it's huge.
Gentle Ben, and the Star Trek episode where he
talks about that in the book.
More Tranya, Captain?
Yeah, and they talk about growing up in Burbank, and that they all got to, as a treat, even though they were famous, they got to ride their bikes down to Patty's Diner on the corner over on Riverside Drive.
But their dad was an actor. I mean, it's not like they weren't anonymous.
They're all great books. And then the other thing that brings me joy, which is kind of sad, is I feed two crows.
Okay.
And it's because there's two crows that kept landing in my backyard. And so I bought cat food and walnuts and peanuts. And I've kind of started feeding crows, which is like my friend Jennifer said, like, you have to stop that now because you're turning into the old man who feeds crows.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
It's a little weird, but I like it.
However, crows are famously incredibly smart.
They're so smart that they remember your face. They remember if you're mean or you're good, and they tell their children. So it will be passed down to generations if you're a good person or a bad person. So you better be good to crows.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for that. I will not be feeding crows.
No, you should.
But I'm not going to, because then if I feed them, they're going to come back.
But don't be mean to them.
I won't be mean to crows. Yeah. I like crows.
Smile when you see
But
them.
I will read more biographies of famous people.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
Charlie Sheen. I liked it.
I wish.
Jeanette McCurdy. But for your audience, The Boys. It's so good.
Yeah.
Like Ron Howard, Clint Howard, great book.
All right. Well, Ron Howard, I've met on many occasions. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Very nice guy.
I've never met him once.
Incredibly down to earth.
Yeah.
I mean, shockingly.
I auditioned one time with Clint, and I thought, what category am I in?
And did you get it?
I did not get it.
Okay. Did Clint get it?
I don't know.
Okay. Maybe neither one of you were in that category.
I don't know.
You don't know. Michael, it was so great for you to come in here.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
To meet you in this kind of setting.
Yeah,
the longest we've sat talking with each other in decades ever.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. I want to do more of it. Someday you'll invite me to the Jennifer Joyce Grand Slam, Denny's Grand Slam.
If you show up, you're more than welcome.
I can go to Hollywood. I'm in Hollywood now.
Yeah, that's
it's not
true.
That
We're
far.
in Hollywood.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah.
But thank you for being here. And I'm very much looking forward to Lowdown.
The Lowdown.
It's very exciting. And to whatever else is going to come next.
Hulu, and Nobody Wants This.
And Nobody
Come
Wants
on,
This.
Season 2.
Nobody Wants This. I'll watch
show.
season 2.
It's a fun show.
That's although I have had my fill of Jews, I gotta say.
Okay, well,
it's just been the high holidays. I've seen a lot of my brethren a lot.
All right,
and so it's okay. But I mean, I'll get around to it.
You could just skip to the Christian part.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like our family.
Half of it. That's fine. That's fine. And but thanks for being here, and thank you
for having us.
for being here. If you please tune in to Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan. Whenever you get a chance, please write in to dbawjk@gmail.com if you got a question. Subscribe to the show and do yourself a favor. Sit with somebody who you would like to talk with and have a talk with them. This makes my day. You can make your day by doing the same thing. And we'll see you next time.
Don't be alone.